Yeah, I'm Colin Offland. I'm the producer-director of Wildlands, the documentary.
Could you tell us a little bit about your earlier work?
So I do a lot of stuff that's sort of travel-related. That's historically where I've come from. I'm making music videos and TV commercials, but I seem to have a thing about doing travel-related programming in weird places. My last feature doc was with Dennis Rodman and went to North Korea with Dennis Rodman, and when he did that basketball event with Kim Jong-un, so I made the documentary about that whole story. You know, when you embed yourself in subjects like that, you don't want to do feature docs too often. You know, you need to put your life into it for a year or so and then have a year off, and this was my next job.
Could you tell us a bit about your previous experience with drug trafficking?
You know, I have absolutely no experience of drug trafficking, and that was part of the attraction. Is, you know, I never thought I'd get involved in you never know what's around the corner, do you? But I had no experience of the drugs industry at all.
So let's talk about the documentary. The documentary is balanced between opinions and experiences from both the cartel and their associates and the other side of the law. What is your point of view, and what are you trying to show through the structure of the film?
I think when we got Rusty involved, he's an author. That's his story. He's a storyteller, and he's also got this incredible knowledge of the world of drugs, you know, from his experience with Thomas and living in the prison, then working in Colombia. So what I wanted to do was hear more stories, because we learned a bit from Thomas, you know, and Rusty's learned a lot from Thomas in his time. So we thought, well, look, I kind of try to think about presenting it a bit like a book, you know, in the kind of keeping with the author thing, that it's chapters of a book. You know, here's the guy who introduced drugs, here's the guy who regretted being involved with the cartels and then was turned to becoming DA. So it's becoming chapters of a book, sort of, and each time hopefully you've got another angle of the story, you know, of the world and drugs. So to the point where, okay, we're now not feeling too good about how the DEA operate, and then, well, let's say their side of it, and then you suddenly, thankfully, you sort of do feel that the DEA are actually trying to do a good job, but in my opinion, there's other ways of tackling the war. We wanted Evo. The biggest regret is not getting Evo Morales' story face to face. You know, that would have been the peak. That's what I was really, really hoping for. And then obviously Adam resolves the story. Really, Adam represents the here and now. You know, he lives in this small town America that's, you know, got this infection of heroin and cocaine, and it's really effective. So I think he represents, you know, we get this historical view on the drugs industry, on all the twists and turns that are involved in it, and then we finish with the here and now, which is, it's just a really, really screwed up world. There are no answers. I mean, that's
this is one of the dangerous documentaries, and quite edgy. How do you feel about the points, or maybe the accusations that were made through the film? You know, accusations.
Yeah. Anything in particular?
I mean, there are some pretty obvious accusations about the president of Bolivia.
Well, I think they were the opinions of, you know,
yeah,
Carlos and the DEA, and I've tried to put that across, that the DEA, you know, probably are a bit embittered by being thrown out of South America.
Sure.
You know, why would they be embittered? You know, there are questions there, and I think I'd like the audience. I'm not saying that Evo Morales is. I'm not saying that he's involved. But it is. There are questions that the DA are asking, and they're accusations the DA make. But if you listen to Mike Vigil, there's a little soundbite in there from Mike Vigil which says, you know, I'm not saying he's not involved, but I'm not saying there's evidence to prove he isn't. Now that's
a pretty neutral.
Yeah, exactly.
Statement.
Yeah. So, but all we do know is you know, there's accusations. People accuse the Americans of smuggling drugs. You know, so it's just such a complicated world. It's like there aren't, you know, there are no answers, and that's what I've got frustrated about when I was making it. It's like, I'd love to be able to give a definitive, this is the answer, but it's just so screwed up. You know, really, the only answer is, if we didn't take cocaine or we didn't take drugs, then there wouldn't be a war. I mean, that is it. I know that it's too simple.
The definitive answer.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, of course, that's never going to happen.
I know.
But
I see. Some of the people interviewed in the documentary are giving some pretty controversial thoughts and statements about drugs, drug trafficking, or even cold-blood murder. I mean, Young, I believe his name is. How do you think this affects the viewers, and maybe it shocks them? Is it intentional?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I'd like to have shocked more because it is so bad. I'd like to have shocked more, but you have to draw a line. Look, George Jung is hard to. He's such a lovable guy, George. You know, he's almost like
he's actually done some very bad stuff.
Yeah, really has. You know, he is. But he says, I mean, he's so philosophical. He says that, look, I was just there at that point. You know, it's serendipity. If it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. So he's quite. He removes himself by using the excuse it was serendipity that he met Carlos Leder, and that's what started it. But it would have been someone else. And look, he's bad. He's a bad guy. You know, he's back in prison now. But he's, you know, you can see in the film he's full of regrets. Popeye. I mean,
that was shocking.
Yeah, I think we needed that side. I mean, he's the closest we could get to. You know, there's.
How did you manage to film him? And I asked the same question at Rusty. How was it even possible to do that?
That was a lot of time tracking him down. We knew that he'd put some stuff out on YouTube, so we because he's for some reason he thinks he's going to be a politician, you know. So he put some stuff out on YouTube, and we tracked him down through that. And we went to Medellin not even knowing we were going to meet him. And we, you know, he's got he changes his phone every couple of days because people don't want him to be. He doesn't want to be tracked down because he knows there's so many people out to try and, you know, get revenge on him. So that's we managed to track him down. You know, there was always security. He had his security around the place. Not that he made a big fuss about, but certainly when we were in the cemetery, you were looking around the cemetery, it's like he's got his guys positioned around with armed, ready to defend him if something happened. You know.
Weren't you afraid when you asked them, when Rusty asked him if he was disloyal?
I knew he was going to ask the question. But I don't speak Spanish. So I didn't know at what point he asked the question, but
I knew it at all times.
Yeah. Look, I was more. This documentary happened because, you know, Ubisoft got in touch with me, and I felt very responsible for my crew that I took into a situation that some people might perceive to be risky. So I was more concerned that I didn't put my crew at risk, and, you know, it's all right me putting my own life at risk, but not. But actually, you know, when you're there and you're in the moment, you didn't feel dangerous.
No.
I think people, yeah, for me it didn't, but.
Great. I have another question about the documentary. Do you think that the DEA agents are portrayed as neutrally as the others? Is that intentional? The phrase "bad guys" comes up a lot, leading to stereotypical attitude, you know. And well, also there is no reply to Toro's accusations, to Pilar's statement. I think it was Pilar, that they go always after the money, and implying the presence of other motives than justice.
Yeah, I wanted to track down 2 DA guys. I wanted, you know, we knew we needed the DA side, and again, I wanted has-been DA people. I found Mike McManus because he ran the situation down. He was head of that scenario, the DA down in Florida, where a lot of the drugs are coming in. And Mike Verhill was very active in Central America, you know, in the early days, at the beginning of the DA. So I found two guys who had incredible experience. I had no idea if they were going to be good guys or bad guys. You know, there's definitely bad DA guys. We came across these two. I generally feel that they were two honourable guys. If I didn't feel that, it might have been a different documentary. But you know, we talked to them because of what they'd done and where they've been and their experience. And had we felt they were corrupt DA guys, then we would have said something different. But they were two good guys who had great experience and great knowledge. So with Toro's accusation and Pilar's accusation, yeah, I do sort of bit. We didn't ask at that point. I wasn't fully aware about the situation with the DA. You know, the commission basis that they were getting. So I didn't have a good answer from them. Yeah, if that's coming across.
Maybe you could track them down again and do a follow up.
Look, I spoke to DA agent. I mean, it was another DA agent who told me, yeah, we get this commission. They were proud of it. You know, there was no. So this came. They're not saying the agents aren't trying to hide away. I mean, it doesn't happen anymore. But in those days, they used to get a commission from the money they laundered or the money they seized. That's how they funded their operations.
And it is known that it's done that way.
Well, I didn't know it. I didn't know. But yeah, and I was shocked about it, and that's why I put it in the documentary. Because
it is pretty shocking.
Yeah. But it's. I think in the sort of mid-90s, you know, the government got wind that these kind of operations were happening and said that's totally illegal, so they stopped it. But for a long time, you know, laundering, you know, easing the money to the cartel's money to their bank accounts in order that you can take a commission is bizarre.
That's right. I got one last question. Do you think that the documentary will have an impact to the world? Do you feel that you could maybe make a difference with it?
I probably won't make a difference. I'd love it to. I think people, hopefully people watch it and are entertained. And if somebody can watch and go, you know what? I read a stat halfway through making this documentary. I was trying to research as much about the world as possible, and I read this stat that for every kilo of coke that comes into the UK, one person has been brutally murdered for that, to get that drugs there. So I didn't want to put that throw that out there, but I think, you know, anyone does coke, we have got blood on our hands. We have. And if maybe that comes across in any way that people go, shit, you know, this is a bad world, then maybe, and they don't take coke, then that will be the answer.